ain't never giving up. Sometimes I think to myself I ain't doing enough. All these devils around me hoping that I give up. I'm keeping these laws in the faith. If you're not, then shut up. If I fall, I get back up and I ain't giving up. I ain't giving up. I ain't giving up. I'm strong in the Lord and the power of His might. I ain't giving up. I ain't giving up. I ain't giving up. I might fall 7 times, but I ain't giving up.
One Edomite or an Egyptian on the face of the earth, God already hated them before you was even born. So you ain't got to worry about that. He took care of it for you. But let's get the understanding on that. Deuteronomy 23. Who my reader? I got a reader? All right, verse 7. 23 and 7.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land.
Amos 1. No, I want you to start up higher. Start at verse 9.
Yes, sir. Amos chapter 1 and verse 9. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I would not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remembered not the brotherly covenant.
And remembered not the brotherly covenant, and delivered them up the whole captivity to Edom. Read on.
Verse 10. But I will send a fire on the wall of Tyrus, which shall devour the palaces thereof. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I would not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword.
He pursued his who?
His brother with the sword.
Read on.
And did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever.
He kept his wrath forever. So no longer are they considered our brothers anymore. As we just said, they kept not the brotherly covenant. They pursued their brothers with wrath, and their perpetual hatred did tear forever. And let's show you that it doesn't mean what we have learned. Go to 1 Kings. Yeah, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 11. 1 Kings chapter 11. Let's read verse 14 through 16.
1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 14. And the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom. For it came to pass when David was in Edom.
Who was in Edom?
When David was in Edom.
So we're talking about King David, who the Lord said, I have found a man after my own heart. And God looked at David, he said, he's going to follow me wherever. Got a whole book of him asking for forgiveness. 149 songs he's asking the Lord for forgiveness for when he messed up. So it says, it came to pass when David was in Edom, what did he do?
And Joab, the captain of the host, was gone up to bury the slain, after he had smitten every male in Edom.
So David did what?
Smitten every male in Edom.
So if David had read Deuteronomy 23 and 7 and understood it the way we did, that means he would be in the midst of sin, because he broke the commandment. So the understanding we got today of when it says, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, is not the understanding that God's talking about. And we'll go back to Deuteronomy 23 and show you. So we read here where David killed every male in Edom. Read on.
Verse 16. For 6 months did Joab remain there with all Israel, until he had cut off every male in Edom.
So David kept the armies in Edom killing everybody. Turn my highs down, Azaniah. Highs are way too high. He killed everybody in Edom. He kept them there. All right? So let's go back to Deuteronomy 23 and 7. Let's see what it's talking about. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 7.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land.
So this is the reason why he said you shall not abhor an Edomite at that time. Verse 8.
Verse 8. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord.
So their kids, the Edomites' kids, the Egyptians' kids shall enter into the congregation of the Lord. Read on.
In their third generation.
In their third generation. To do what? What was the other nation's job to do amongst the Israelites, Brother Samuel? What was their job?
To be servants.
To be servants. That's why he said you shall not abhor an Edomite or an Egyptian. After the third generation, let them come amongst you and be slaves. That's what he's talking about in verse 7. Our people never read verse 8 and get that understanding. In the third generation. The first generation came out of Egypt. What happened to them, brothers? What happened to the first generation? Who knows? Give me a show of hands. What happened to the first generation? Brother Judah. What happened to the first generation?
They was put to death.
They was all put to death. So what generation went into the promised land? Brother Judah. What number of generation?
Third.
The second generation. The second went in. So then he said, the third, upon the third generation, let these Edomites and Egyptians come in here and serve you. That was their job. That's why he said, don't abhor them. Because when you read, where is it? Exodus 17, I think it is. I'm going to show you why he would have to tell them that. Because we just read in Amos, it was talking about perpetual hatred, right? Read Exodus 17, verse 8. We're going to jump.
Exodus chapter 17 and verse 8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel and Rephidim.
What seed is Amalek from? Brothers, by a show of hands, yell it out if you know. What seed do they come from? What nation of people? Zashay. Where do they come from?
Is it Edom?
Edom. They are Edomites. Right? Read on. Verse 9.
And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand.
Jump up to verse 13.
Exodus chapter 17 and verse 13. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heaven.
So wait, well God said don't abhor an Edomite. Amalek's an Edomite. God said I'm going to kill him. That's because in Deuteronomy 23, 7 and 8, he's talking about let them come and be your slaves. Verse 15.
And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehovah Nissi. Jehovah Nissi. But he said, because the Lord hath sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
From generation to generation. And here's another precept. Go to Numbers. What is that? Numbers 23. Numbers 23. Let's see what also he says about Amalek and Edom and all of that. Numbers chapter 24, verse... Let's read verse 14. 24:14. Numbers 24:14. We're going over what does it mean thou should not abhor an Edomite or an Egyptian. Read that.
Numbers chapter 24 and verse 14. And now, behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days.
Read on.
And he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, have said, and the man whose eyes are open have said, he have said, which heard the words of God and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. So
what we call that now, you would say somebody's daydreaming. That's what's happening right now. Jump down to verse... No, read through. Let's read through.
Verse 17. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel.
That's talking about Christ. Read on.
It shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Shith. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly.
Read on.
Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city.
Verse 20 is the point.
And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations.
They was the first of the nations to do what, brothers? We just read it in Exodus chapter 17. What was they the first of the nations to do? We just read Exodus 17. I know y'all was here just like I was just here. What did we just read? Brother Samuel, what did Amalek do to Israel? We got to connect the dots.
Were they the first to come with us in the wilderness?
No. Y'all brothers ain't paying attention to what we reading. No. Raise your hand. Brother Jeraham.
That was the first one to prevail against them?
No. Sin. What is it again? Tabor. That's what it is.
All right.
They the first to do what? Amalek was the first of the nations to do what?
Fought with Israel.
There we go. They the first ones that came out and made war with us coming out of Egypt when we was at our lowest point. Running for our lives from the Egyptians. Amalek said we're going to catch them while they down. God said Amalek was the first of the nations to fight against us. What's it say after that?
But his latter end shall be that he perish forever.
God said, I'm going to kill them all. That's one thing that we, even in religion, we like to think God forget. He don't. He's just very patient till we get our act right. So going back to, well, let's go to Joshua. Let's go to Joshua. One more precept here for you. So we can no longer be confused on what it means. Now let's do Joshua 9. Joshua chapter 9, verse 20. The nation's purpose amongst us. Joshua 9 and 20.
Joshua chapter 9 and verse 20. This we will do to them. We will even let them live.
So let's stop. Let's jump up to read verse 1 and we're going to jump just so we can get the context.
Joshua chapter 9 and verse 1. And it came to pass, when all the kings which were on this side Jordan, in the hills and in the valleys, and in all the coast of the great sea over against Lebanon, the Hittite and the Amorite and the Canaanite, the Perizzites, the Hivite and the Jebusites heard thereof.
Read on.
That they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. And when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai, they did work willingly, and went and made as if they had been ambassadors, and took old sacks upon their asses and wine bottles, and old and rent and bound up.
So we got some Africans that said we ain't joining with them because we done heard what they did. So they came amongst Israel and tricked them, right? Because we weren't supposed to take we supposed to kill everybody in the land. Jump down to verse 20. After they tricked us. Let's see what it says.
Verse 20. This we will do to them. We will even let them live, lest wrath be upon us, because of the oath which we swear unto them. And the princes said unto them, let them live, but let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water unto all the congregations.
So when Edom and the Egyptians came amongst enter into the congregation in the third generation, they were supposed to be what?
Hewers of wood and drawers of water unto all the congregation.
They were supposed to come amongst us and be slaves. Not that they can come into the congregation of the Lord and now start keeping the Sabbath day with you. No, it ain't what he's talking about. Read on.
As the princes had promised them. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying, we are very far from you, when ye dwell amongst us? Now therefore ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be freed from being bondmen, and hewers of wood, and drawers of water for the house of my God.
Jump down to 27.
In verse 27, and Joshua made them that day hewers of wood and drawers of water for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord, even unto this day. in the place which he should choose.
So that's why they was allowed to come amongst us in the third generation, to be hewers of wood and drawers of water, basically slaves. So the Most High had to put a law in there to let us know, don't abhor them, because it went way back to when we first came out. We wasn't going to have no dealings with them, but he said, let them come amongst you and be slaves. You need slaves out there, so let them be that. All right, so it's not talking about you can't hate them, all that type of stuff. We're not telling you to hate them, because like I said, God already told you, he already did that from the beginning. You ain't even got to worry about that. He take care of it for you. But you better separate yourself from them. Better not be keeping Christmas. You're gonna perish when them bombs drop.
Shalom, Israel. I'm Elder Nathaniel, Israel United in Christ. YouTube likes to shut our channels down, as some of you have noticed, ever so often. Subscribing to join IUIC will assure you will always stay connected to our YouTube accounts. We want to do our best to make sure this truth gets out. Please click and join our subscriber YouTube channel called Join IUIC to stay linked to all of our videos. So again, please make sure you subscribe to this Join IUIC channel to get your latest updates from all our YouTube channels. Shalom.